Hello everybody! You may or may not be aware, but I recently had a video that went viral at 15.3 million views. I think that's what it's up to now. There are over 6,000 comments, so I'm making this video to address many of the comments and questions. First, fluoroquinolone antibiotics are a class of antibiotics, and within that class contain many brands of fluoroquinolones. Cipro is just one of those. So while my video just mentioned Cipro, there are many other fluoroquinolones that you need to be aware of, such as Levaquin, Avelox. I'll put the list of them in the video. Fluoroquinolones come in many different forms. They come in pill form, IV form, injectable, eardrops, and eye drops. You can get fluoroquinolone toxicity from any of those methods. People experience fluoroquinolone toxicity, also known as being floxed, when they experience adverse effects of taking a fluoroquinolone antibiotic. The FDA website has a list of all of those symptoms, and I'll place the link in here too. Adverse reactions to fluoroquinolones are not always immediate. Sometimes, like in the case of me, it was only 3 pills and I was in the hospital, but for other folks, they experience symptoms weeks to months later. The FDA actually states that you can get adverse effects 2 hours after taking 1 pill by mouth to months later. So for people that say, I've taken a fluoroquinolone before and I've been fine, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be fine the next time you take one. Additionally, there are many people that start experiencing fluoroquinolone toxicity symptoms so far after they took a fluoroquinolone that they are not connecting the two. Over time, they may start getting sicker or gradually developing some sort of chronic illness. They begin to see doctors and they don't know what has happened. They are often diagnosed with fibromyalgia, maybe chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain syndrome, and they're never making the connection that 6 months before they took a fluoroquinolone. That's how delayed reactions can be to fluoroquinolones. I've seen many comments about fluoroquinolone toxicity being rare. Regardless if fluoroquinolone toxicity is rare or not, the FDA has stated that due to the permanent and disabling side effects of fluoroquinolone antibiotics, they should only be used as a last resort when no other treatment options are available. So if you are prescribed a fluoroquinolone antibiotic, please ask for an alternative if there is one. This message is not to say, do not take the fluoroquinolone antibiotic under any circumstances. This message is to say, ask for an alternative if there is one. If there isn't, there isn't, but at least you tried. If a prescriber tells you that a fluoroquinolone is your only option, please ask to see the data to make sure that that's actually true, and that it's not just a prescriber prescribing the same medication that they're just used to prescribing. When someone experiences fluoroquinolone toxicity syndrome, they are not allergic to the antibiotic. They are experiencing the adverse effects of that drug that are documented by the FDA. There is a big difference. In regards to the rare comments, the FDA has said that there are problems with their reporting system. They acknowledge that the data may be underreported because they use a self-reporting system, which means if you think you are floxed, you need to report yourself. Your doctor's not going to do it, you have to report it. So if you don't report it, you are not included in those numbers. Second of all, they acknowledge that there are duplicate records in the system, there are incomplete records, and they are actually not reviewed. The point in telling you that is that it may not be as rare as some people think. Some of the ways that you can prevent yourself from experiencing fluoroquinolone toxicity is to not take an antibiotic unless you actually need one. I say in all my interviews and all my videos, test, don't guess, especially in the case of a UTI. If you think you have a urinary tract infection, request a urinalysis and a culture to make sure you actually have an infection and need an antibiotic. If your culture is positive, it will come back with the organism and the list of antibiotics that are susceptible to that organism. Along with that, if you have to take a fluoroquinolone, there are certain things that are contraindicated, like taking NSAIDs or steroids at the same time. There's actually quite a big list of things that are contraindicated. You can look at any of my other videos or go to the FDA website. And before I end this video, I will end with some statistics that are provided by the FDA, again on their website. The FDA states that fluoroquinolone antibiotics have the most adverse effects of any drug on the market. Any drug, not just antibiotics. They have 4 times more adverse effects than the second drug on the list, which is corticosteroids. Of those adverse effects, 87% are considered serious or life-threatening. In 2015, the FDA did a study on the most disabling antibiotics. Fluoroquinolones took the top 5 spots. Fluoroquinolone antibiotics have 7 black box warnings. 7. That should show you the dangerous nature of these antibiotics. And before I go, I have to say, I am not a doctor. This video is based on my personal experience and is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not here to treat, prevent, diagnose, or cure any illness or disorder. Please work with your healthcare provider to do so. Thanks, everybody.